Are aliens real?
I think it's entirely possible that we have been visited periodically and that we have been monitored.
This year, there is coming a massive disclosure. The truth, as the government knows it, about UFOs and UAPs is going to be disclosed to the population.
I don't call them aliens, and I don't know what these things are that they're using, right? But I think that there's stuff that we have witnessed as members of Congress, been briefed on that we cannot explain.
I am so locked in on all the UFO, alien, UAP stuff.
The possibility that this is all linked to the Christian predictions of end of days and the apocalypse.
Alien life that is about to be revealed to the church that could shake people's faith.
What's all this stuff that's going on with Trump's data dumps and pastors supposedly meeting together with a congressperson or some kind of Republican from Missouri? What is all that about? Does it matter? Should we pay attention as Christians? What's coming down the road? Stay tuned. You're going to find out on the Renton Rathman Show. Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. Now, some of you might be thinking, why are we doing a show on UFOs / aliens / beings from other dimensions or whatever it's called, whatever they're doing? Because this is so big in the news currently, and the way people have been talking about this, it's brought confusion, it's brought people to into conspiracy theories, and the Renton Rathman Show is here to help you understand what's going on. But before we get into all that, it's important for you to also know that if you care about this show, if this has been helpful to you, you need to spread it around. Like a massive disease, this show needs to just go across America to everywhere. And
are you sure you want to equate this with a massive disease?
Yeah, I think that's the best way. I mean, you know, for the Renton Rathman Show, think of it like a, maybe not a disease, maybe some kind of contagious COVID virus, something. But what we need is all of you that are already contaminated with the show to contaminate others and let them know that the show is around, that this is an important show, that you've been blessed by it. And share it on your social media links. Share it.
I did repost one episode on Facebook.
Oh, thank
you.
Not
too long ago.
I am sure your 6 friends have passed it around by now. That's awesome. Appreciate that, Jersey Mike. You know, Jersey Mike, one of our most loyal fans, who has yet to subscribe, is here with us to tell us one really good reason you should be promoting the Renton Rathman Show. Go ahead, Jersey Mike.
It encourages parents who feel overwhelmed or behind.
All right. I'm good. Thank you. That was amazing. So those of you parents that feel overwhelmed and behind, is that correct?
Or behind.
Or behind. Great. Thank you. Okay. So if that doesn't get you excited about the Renton Rathman Show, I just don't know what will.
Should I stop using Copilot?
I think we all should stop using Copilot. Okay. Before we begin, don't forget that the homefrontfamilies.com is here to help you. There are all kinds of resources on that website for you to grab a hold of and to help you in your journey as a parent or a grandparent. Those of you that are interested in this kind of content, but you want to hear it from other people as well, you have biblicalfamilynetwork.com that has a ton of podcasts there. None as good as this one, of course, but they're trying. So check those out. And young ones, just remember, there is plenty of merch on the Renton Rathman Show website, rentonrathman.com. We have hoodies, t-shirts, and beautiful mugs with my name on them. Who wouldn't want it? Who wouldn't want it? So check that out at rentonrathman.com. Speaking of Copilot, my Copilot today, it was a real pilot, not just any kind of pilot, not just, a guy that has those big, planes in the sky with a bunch of people. You were a fighter pilot, correct?
That's right.
So today with us, we have Beau Rodgers from Creation Ministries. Beau Rodgers. What a cool name. Beau, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us your background and then what Creation Ministries is all about.
You bet. So I graduated from the Air Force Academy back in 1993 with an aeronautical engineering degree. And then I immediately went into pilot training. Was an F-16 pilot for 23 years in the Air Force.
F-16?
F-16s, yeah.
Isn't that the same one that Tom Cruise flew?
No, not quite.
What are those?
Ours is actually, it's a single engine, single tail, and single seat.
Okay.
So we never have a goose in our
goose.
aircraft. It's
All right.
just us.
Still cool. Okay,
Yeah,
go
it's a lot of fun. So as far as my Air Force career, kind of in a nutshell, I did 8 combat deployments. I went to, our school is called Fighter Weapons School. Same thing as Top Gun. So I was a Fighter Weapons School graduate and then later an instructor. And then I graduated as an 06 or full-blood colonel after what I consider was a fun career. And then now I'm a Delta pilot, trying not to spill the coffee. So a completely different way of flying.
Hey, Delta's my favorite of all of them. I mean, they even have TVs on the back of the seats, ladies and gentlemen. So nice.
Yeah.
Continue.
So that was fun. I try to have a little bit of adrenaline in my life. So I'm a Porsche driving instructor on the side.
Do you say Porsche driving instructor?
Yes, sir.
How cool is that?
It's kind of fun.
Wow, you're a really cool guy. I didn't get the whole thing from our recruiter, but that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, you bet.
You're going to be another one of those guests where people are like, "Why is he on that show?" But you're here. It's too late. Can't go. All right, continue.
But then when I started with Delta, which was about 10 years ago, the chairman of the board of Creation Ministries International happened to be in my Sunday school. And so I was reading a book, an apologetics book. I won't mention which one it was, but there was a chapter in there that talks about long ages, how the earth is millions of years old. And he was nice and goes, I don't think that's quite right. I'm like, what do you mean? Everyone knows that the earth is millions of years old. He's like, actually, there's a whole another world of information that you might be interested in. And so he got me basically the first time I've ever heard of information about the evidence, scientific evidence that kind of shows that our world is exactly what the Bible says, which is 6,000 years old if you do all the math in the Bible to figure out when Adam and Eve started. 6 literal days of creation, Noah's flood was real, all that. And so once I got into these books, I was like, yes, this makes a lot more sense of what we see in the world. And then from there, they asked me to be a member of the board. And then a few years after that, they said, so you've done some public speaking. Maybe you should be a public speaker for Creation Ministries International. So I've now been basically once a month, I'll go to churches and carry our message, which is really the gospel message. That's our primary concern. But we teach people to defend the authority of the Bible, and we back that up with modern day science.
Hey, if you all want to know how important creation is and what you think and how you think it all happened, it's important that you check out our podcast. When we did our podcast on Biola, we did one entitled "What Was Biola Thinking?" We did another one right after that entitled "Another Gospel at Biola," where they have an apologetics certificate in which one of the professors is William Lane Craig. And William Lane Craig uses evolution to steer what he believes about the Bible. And if you don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen, check out those 2 episodes. What you believe about creation will change how you think about your Bible. Because what it led William Lane Craig to is your first 11 chapters are a myth. And he uses, mytho-history, and you can play with words all you want. You just don't believe it's true. So anyway, so that's important. I'm glad you're part of that Creation Ministries. And as part of the Creation Ministries, you're dealing with things that are contemporary issues of the day that relate back to this field. And one of those is aliens.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm bringing it up like that is because all of a sudden everyone is amazed by it. The lead singer of Blink 182 got it all going with, what is, what's going on? Has the government been hiding stuff? And he was a big conspiracy theorist, but because he was famous, people let it go. And then all of a sudden Trump starts dumping all this data about this stuff. And now you have people, and so there's this guy named Eric Burleson of Missouri. He's a representative of Missouri, and he brought in Perry Stone, Alan Didido, I think I'm saying that right, who cares, and other guys, another pastor / YouTuber, Larry Ragland, and had this kind of meeting with him. Now, representatives do this a lot. They bring people that they think are influential, bring them in, and share with them things, get their concerns, and you get votes out of it. But what he brought to them was some information about UFOs and aliens that may or may not have already been released, and they were talking about it. Let me show you a little bit of how people are responding to that little meeting.
Interdimensional beings is what our witnesses will call these things. I have seen evidence in a skiff that leads me to believe there are things we cannot explain, and I have observed things that are of non-human origin in creation. That's my opinion. Again, but there has been a declassification order from the president, and you will see as soon as that stuff comes up.
Right. So do you think that the American public's going to be super surprised when this comes out, or is it going to be a bit of a nothing burger?
Well, I don't think it'll be a nothing burger, but, we're not going to tell the American people what to make of it. But I think, when, again, you saw my last hearing that I did with the task force where there was some footage that was entered into the archive, and it was pretty shocking for people. I don't know much tech that can deflect a Hellfire missile. I don't know about you. But, I think
so. What do you
that's
think?
The footage that you'll see.
So what do if you had to just make a decision now about whether there really were, I guess, aliens moving among us with their strange machines that have all sorts of powers, do you think that's plausible?
I don't call them aliens, and I don't know what these things are that they're using, right? But I think that there's stuff that we have witnessed as members of Congress, been briefed on, that we cannot explain.
So you have people in Congress that are getting information that have become true believers of something going on in there. You have people, representatives collecting some pastors, talking about it. The pastors kind of wanted to be known, so especially people like Perry Stone, who has a lot of baggage. I don't know why they dragged him into it, but it probably wasn't good for them. But he, was a loudmouth about it, acted like he got all this information no one else knows, and we've got to be careful because if people know this information, they're going to start doubting the Bible. Why is it that this phenomenon has come back, and what is it about this that everyone is so fascinated with? What's going on? Is there something we need to really be ready for?
I don't think so. So I'll start out, I'll give you the bottom line up front. I don't believe in aliens at all. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't believe in interdimensional beings.
Okay, so those are two different things.
That's two different things. So now we're talking about like the spirit realm, which certainly we hear about in the Bible. So I certainly do not discount that. But as far as aliens or classic UFOs, which even the government is now calling unidentified anomalous phenomenon. So it's UAPs.
UAPs,
That's the new buzzword. It all means the same thing. But,
and even this woman, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, did not say aliens. She did say interdimensional beings as well. So that is a good difference to
You bet.
point out.
So in most of these interviews, and I've even watched some of the stuff on C-SPAN, and there was a lot of interviewing that was done, congressional testimony back in September 2023. And a lot of this is they choose their words very carefully, and it's this big buildup, and you're like, say the word alien, and they're like, and they never do. And it's like, well, the data points to something, or we were doing DNA testing on this, but you can do DNA testing on blade of grass. That doesn't mean that it means anything, right? That just means you're doing DNA testing on something. So very inconclusive with all these interviewees. And then they like to hide behind, well, I've got this high security clearance and I'm in a skiff, so I know stuff that you don't. But then they never actually come out and say, what it is.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like there's a lot of intentional kind of misleading and even deception to, I don't know if they're trying to get more clicks, more likes, if it gives them some funding or what, but it doesn't really, is always very inconclusive.
Yeah. Well, there are people, especially in the religious world, that's concerned about this. So here's a pastor. I mean, I guess he is. I don't know who he is, but he's some guy that I guess is some kind of pastor that is concerned about this. And this is what he says.
We need to get this in front of every believer, every Christian that we possibly can. This year, there is coming a massive disclosure. The truth, as the government knows it, about UFOs and UAPs is going to be disclosed to the population. The Trump administration is going to attempt to make history in an historic announcement where they're going to say that these non-terrestrial, interdimensional beings are real and that we do have unexplained phenomenon among us. This is going to be huge. Many so-called Christians are going to be taken captive by it. We have got to speak on this first. They need to hear it from us first. They need to hear from us what the Bible has to say about it. This is an urgent call to every pastor and church leader, including the ones who mocked me when I released this book and said I'd gone off the deep end. Of course, they didn't read the book. They didn't know what I said about it. It's time for every single pastor to teach on this. What does the Bible say about non-human entities? Now, you have noticed that the language has changed in these Department of Defense meetings as well as in these congressional hearings. They're no longer saying extraterrestrial. They're saying non-human entities. Are there non-human entities in the Bible who attempt to influence mankind? The answer to the question is yes. Are there non-human entities who use mechanisms of transport of some kind in order to travel? And the answer to that is yes.
So what I am seeing, and I see this in, Joe Rogan just had a show on aliens lately as well.
Mm-hmm.
I see there's two kind of pulls here. I see that the Christian side is emphasizing that, of course, there can be non-human entities. We know demons. We know from Ephesians 6 that we don't fight, flesh and blood. We fight principalities and powers. Demons are talked about all through the New Testament as well.
Absolutely, yep.
And of course, Satan, all entities we can't see but interact with this world. And so I see that there's Christians that seem to emphasize that. The secular world seems to emphasize, well, there's got to be life. There's got to be life on another planet. Let me show you what Joe Rogan says.
Good to see you, my friend.
Great to see you.
We were listening to Tim Dillon. I was listening to it on the way over here, and he was talking about Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett and Trump. They're all talking about the UAP disclosures and, why now? What are they doing? Why are they distracting us with this? Tim Burchett said that whatever they're going to release, it will be indigestible.
What does that mean?
Right.
Indigestible as in, then it doesn't mean that it's real then.
Well, I think it means that it'll be so crazy if it's real. So crazy. He's the one that's been saying that there's these confirmed bases under the ocean, that there's these specific locations. I think you're shaking your head. You don't believe a word of it.
No.
How come?
I think it's true that look, it's completely implausible that there aren't other species.
Right.
Completely implausible.
Just the
vastness of what we're dealing with. So the real question is why haven't we encountered people or those things, those beings?
Right.
And it's probably because they have bigger fish to fry.
So there seems to be this desire from the secular side that we've got to find other species because it would bolster our idea that this is just a bunch of matter that exploded everywhere. Of course, there's going to be, what happened here happened somewhere else. It's got to be, because otherwise we are dealing with a creator that was intentional and put life only on one planet and nowhere else, and wanted to show that the stars were part of his glory, not a part of, a place where you're going to find more of this. So how does finding aliens on other planets, how does that bolster the evolutionary view?
Yeah, and I may take this in a different direction than you were expecting.
No, that's fine.
But I see kind of three factors at play right now. So the first is the mistrust of institutions in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go back to COVID and the JFK files, and release all the information. So there's a general mistrust of all things institutional. And then you combine that with and I would say but most of the Western world's reliance on evolution as explaining everything. Well, there's a problem with that. So as science progresses, we have now determined that evolution doesn't work. And I'll talk about the three big evolutions. You have cosmic evolution, which is how we got here, the Big Bang Theory. And then you go into chemical evolution, which is how did the first life appear. And then you go into biological evolution, which is how did that one single cell turn into everything that we see outside. So let's talk about really the Big Bang Theory. First of all, everyone agrees that since the universe is expanding, you can wind the clock back to a beginning. And if something had a beginning, then it had a cause. So what caused the Big Bang to start? Well, they don't even want to go there. But the Big Bang Theory itself has got so many problems that science they've come together to try to find a different theory, because the theory is just not holding water on so many levels. They've invented dark matter and dark energy. Do you know how much the universe supposedly is made up of dark matter and dark energy?
I have no idea.
95%.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a whole lot. And guess how many molecules of any of the stuff that we found? Zero. So we're taking something that is unknown, the Big Bang Theory, it's just an idea, and now we're adding more unknowns to it to try to make it work. And just like they also created inflation, which is, some infinitesimal amount of time that everything was created, but then they have no mechanism to slow it down. And basically, the more we learn about science, gas clouds do not, collapse on themselves and form stars. There's no mechanism to create stars. So the more we learn, the better we get on operational or modern day science, the more we realize that these kind of theories that seemed like a good idea at the time, but now they're completely not manageable.
Yeah, I did. I saw a who was it? I think it was Stephen Meyer was talking about the fact that a star being created is one of the biggest problems. How do you create a star? And the theories that they came out with, from an explosion come stars, just doesn't work at all. And so they are scrambling to try and figure out another theory, because when it comes right down to it, it's been my experience that scientists aren't interested in the truth. They're interested in making a theory make sense, or make a theory as real as they can, because they need that theory.
So yes and no. So the science that gave you your iPhone, no one cares how the world was created, right? That has nothing to do with modern science, putting someone on the moon, iPhone, stuff like that. So there's two types of sciences. You have operational science, which is which tells us how the world works. But then when you start talking about how things happened in the past, now it's forensic. It's forensic or historical science. They call it science, but it's not science. It's just a philosophy. And so all scientific things that you read about, if you just take away the millions of years part, it still is valid.
Yeah.
They just go, like genetics is a great one. Genetics works because genetics works the way it does right now. The fact that we have different theories on how it started really doesn't matter. What matters is how genetics works right now.
Yeah.
That's how we're solving, modern medicine and whatnot. So you have this evolutionary idea. Now it's not working. But the problem is, many, many years ago, scientists all decided that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because evolution was going to prove everything as long as we got smart enough on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're realizing that the smarter we get, the worse it is for evolution to explain things. And I was just talking about, the Big Bang Theory. Now you get into the chemical evolution, so the very beginning of life. We can't even make amino acids barely in a lab. And DNA is the most complex information storage system in the entire universe. Yeah. We can't make that.
Yeah.
And there's no way that random processes can do that. And so the more we get into biology, the more we realize this did not happen on its own. Yeah. So now now the scientists are they've painted themselves into a corner. We said a long time ago there's no God. Yeah. But now we're getting more into science and realize that all these naturalistic processes don't work. So we don't have A and we don't have B.
Yeah.
So is there a third option? Maybe aliens came and put life on Earth and seeded life on Earth. And this is called panspermia.
Yeah.
And again, we're taking something unknown, how did life begin, and we're adding more unknowns to it by inventing, aliens or space stuff.
I have to just say, didn't the aliens build the pyramids?
Right.
Yeah, because we just can't imagine that, people worked hard. I mean, especially as Americans, we're like, so they had to probably work really hard. That couldn't have been human. Let me ask you this. So as I was doing, the research, I noticed that one of the guys that were in this little, called this little meeting by Representative Eric Burleson from Missouri, his name was Larry Ragland. He's apparently a YouTuber, probably has more subscribers than we do. But anyway.
Sorry.
So anyway, he says what he was concerned about as he went into this, that he claimed that what's going to happen is everyone's going to point at these, these images and say, yeah, there really are aliens, or even life from another dimension that came, and they're our creators. They're the ones that made everything happen. Much like, the story of, the movie Prometheus and, showing us that the aliens actually were the creators of the humans and all that sort of stuff. Can you show us, like, some of the images you brought? Because I know what's going to happen. People are going to say, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I have gotten my news from a very reliable source. It's called TikTok. And even though it is monitored by and run by the Chinese, I am sure they are very objective people that just want us to know the truth. So, and let me tell you something, Gen Z. I know you think that you know something because you saw an image or a video on TikTok, and therefore you do understand what's in the Epstein files, and you do understand how angry you should be at President Trump because and all that anger, was completely absent during the other administration. But now they're angry because they've seen the videos.
That's right.
So do you have I know you have some images. People are going to point at these images and say, how can you disqualify these images?
Okay. I'd love to. So, and then we should eventually talk about physics because there's a huge, so we're back into science, there's a huge physics problem about intercellular travel. As far as being able to get someone to a different galaxy in the first place. So, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about the videos. I think that's great. So this first one, and I'll put it up here so you can see it. They're like, wow. And I even had a friend, no kidding, this morning, grab not the still footage, but grab the video and ask me, it's like, this has got to be alien. Come on. But, it's easy to kind of pull the wool over someone's eyes if you're showing something that no one else has seen before. Well, this is a targeting pod. So it's a infrared image that we carry on fighter airplanes. So pretty much all fighters have them. And it's targeting pod footage, and they readily admit to that. But what they are saying is that they have no idea what it is. And honestly, it took me about a half a second because I've seen a picture like this so many times in my flying career
As a fighter pilot.
as a fighter
yourself?
pilot with a targeting pod. And you can see that we're in a bank here. So it's about a 30-degree bank, which is a normal place to be if you were setting up either for a dogfight against a friend or if you're doing a rejoin. So if you're about a mile away and you need the airplanes to come back together, which is what we do routinely, this is exactly what this is going to look like.
Okay.
And so why it looks a little weird is that it's an infrared image. So we have TV and infrared.
Oh.
Infrared means heat.
Right.
And in this case, we are in what's called a polarity of black hot. So anything that is hot is going to show up black. And look at that. There's a giant black dot right where the radar is looking and where the targeting pod's looking, which is what you expect if you're looking at the exhaust coming out of a fighter jet.
Okay.
Now it's heat, so it's not defined. You don't see the image of the airplane because there's this giant exhaust plume, which is going to cover up the airplane itself. And so it looks fuzzy and kind of non-normal.
Yeah.
But it's just the exhaust plume of another airplane.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So maybe people will say, well, that explains that one. But what about, these other ones? Do you see a pattern with all these images that keep coming up?
I do see a pattern. So this is the next one we'll talk about. It's going to be a fairly much the same story. I love the caption at the bottom, why are UFOs floating over nuke sites? However, this is the same targeting pod footage. Actually, you see aircraft is much higher than the object that it's looking at, and it's minus 28 degrees. So the targeting pod is definitely looking down, which means the aircraft looking at this is high. And it's looking at an aircraft a few miles away because it's just a pinpoint, and it's over water. I mean, again, I've seen this many times. I flew out of Shaw Air Force Base and also out of Misawa Air Force Base, Japan, and all of our flying was done over the water. So I know exactly what another aircraft looks like flying low over the water.
Yeah.
This time it's in a white hot polarity, so whatever is hot is white. So here we have this white dot moving across the water. It's not an alien.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. As we keep seeing these things pop up and, it makes for good news, and Fox News, CNN, they are all about people watching. I'm not convinced that either Fox News or CNN necessarily care too much about the truth, but they do care about people watching.
Yes.
And so they're going to put stuff up, whether it's been debunked or not, because they need people to watch. But give us an understanding of what you mean by there's a physics problem in interstellar travel.
Yes. So the universe is huge. It takes a long time to get from one place to another. So speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Mm-hmm. And here's just some numbers. The next closest star is 4.2 light years away. That's just the nearest star. We're still in our galaxy. And then now if you want to get to the other end of our galaxy, that's 100,000 light years.
So a light year, I know a light year is supposed to be a method of measurement, not necessarily time. And I understand those words. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know what that means, but so if you are able to travel the speed of light.
Yes, which we'll talk about.
Which would be a huge physics problem.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Yes.
But maybe you could approach it. You're approaching it. You can't really hit it because if you hit it, we have time-space problems. But let's say we're approaching it. So maybe, something that would take light 100,000 years to get here might take 200,000 years to get here. So you're saying you would have to have a spaceship that could last 200,000 years.
Yeah.
And it would have to be able to sustain whatever life form is in it.
How about the Millennium Falcon?
Well, you need the energy just to accelerate to that amount of speed, to get that fast as well, which is your first physics problem.
Yeah. And I know that people are going to hide behind, well, they're advanced, so they figured it out. Maybe we haven't figured it out, but they figured it out. Do you know some of the problems of what happens as you approach the speed of light?
Yes. So first of all, if you ascribe to Newton's theory of relativity, if you get to the speed of light, your mass becomes infinite. meaning infinitely large. So you actually can never get to the speed of light, would be the first thing. But let's say you can travel partially the speed of light. So the amount of, and I want to make sure I get my information right. So if you want to get the space shuttle to get to 90% of the speed of light, you would need the amount of energy of 73 million atomic bombs.
Wow.
That's how much energy would be required. Or it's about 350 years of all the energy that is produced in the United States to accelerate to 90% the speed of light.
Wow.
Now that's just to accelerate. Now you have to have that same amount of energy to decelerate, and then you have to double that because you have to come back.
Oh, right.
That's just the energy problem.
Yeah.
Now, if you're traveling near the speed of light, a paint fleck will be like an atom bomb going off in your spacecraft because you're now dealing with kinetic energy, 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So it does not take much mass when you're going that fast to absolutely explode your craft. Now, we have 100,000 particles of dust in every square kilometer in space. Space is not empty. Plus, you have all the other stars, asteroids, perhaps planets. So you're going to travel potentially hundreds of light years or even a few light years
Without ever crashing into
without ever touching anything.
even a speck of dust.
Yeah. not going to happen.
Yeah. So, okay, so that brings us to, okay, so we got through the problem of, these people that long to see life on another planet. They just long for it, man. You can see it in their eyes. Because I believe many people think if we can just find life on another planet, then we can prove that this whole thing about the Bible and Earth being special, we can just get rid of it. They keep finding, what you found, these scientific problems. Every time we find some kind of water somewhere, we find out it's just chemical and it's not, the kind of water we're talking about. And, on Mars, they see these gashes and they think that's got to be water and they need it to be water, whatever it is.
Even if it is water,
Yeah.
who cares? There's still no atmosphere there.
Yeah,
So-
and they just need it. And so they
Yeah.
can't find it. We have all these problems. Let's get to the issue of alien abductions and the idea of what people are getting at when they're kind of dismissing the alien thing and they're going to this idea of beings who are not human but from another dimension or something like that. Is there a correlation between the abductions and that kind of view of what they're talking about?
So yes, there is. Can I give you one more kind of anecdote? Actually, maybe a couple more, just on what we're seeing right now.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we'll certainly get into that because I
Yeah.
think that's important too. So back in that September 23 congressional hearing, we had an former Air Force intel officer named David Grush, and they asked, and he was basically very much a proponent of alien life, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, we've recovered, non-terrestrial vehicles," and he's basically wanting to say that they've recovered. If you have a non-terrestrial vehicle, then that means you have a non-terrestrial pilot, right,
Yeah.
in that vehicle. So the question to him was, do we have biological evidence of aliens? And his response was very telling. He said, and I just want to make sure I get this right, non-human biologics.
Non-human biologics.
Yes, very, very adamant. We have non-human biologics. Well, what is that? That could be a bug on a windshield.
Yeah, that's true.
Back to our blade of grass. I mean, anything that is biologic that is not human is non-human biologics. But sure does sound kind of alienish,
Yeah, it
doesn't
sounds intriguing.
Yeah, so he chose his words very carefully, very deceptive. He also said that he's interviewed people that have seen these things, but of course he can't tell us about it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because, now it's in the classified realm and all that.
Because people care about that.
Yes.
Yeah, we found.
So I don't expect anything to come out that has anything close to being something that is alien or not from this world as far as physical that we've been able to hold on to.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you touch on Area 51?
Oh, yeah, Area 51.
Yeah.
What a great place.
Roswell, right?
So I've flown over it, but I've never been there. However, I have a friend that was a F-117 stealth fighter pilot. And part of his job was to work out of Area 51. He was able to fly some of the very first aircraft and they were so unique that they each had their own operating manual.
Wow.
And so he was part of the operational testing and evaluation, and he flew out of Area 51. Now, can't tell me anything about what he did, right? Because it's so classified. But we all asked him the same question: do you believe in aliens? And he goes, absolutely not.
Oh, that's interesting.
So now we have someone, I would say, a lot more reliable. He has no agenda. He's been there.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's no aliens. It's all just...
As much as everyone wanted them.
As much as everyone wants. Yes, we do have military secrets, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's not about aliens.
Oh, wow. And I'll tell you, this is important because Christians are so apt to jump into conspiracy theories. And I'll tell you why, because during COVID, all the conspiracy theories turned out to be true because they were just the truth being held back by YouTube and all those other places.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a payoff to the conspiracy theories. We got a payoff. We found out that everyone was lying to you. The masks didn't do anything. Standing 6 feet apart didn't do anything. And we're still waiting on those apologies of people that accused others of committing murder because they didn't wear their mask. Anyway, all those conspiracy theories turned out to be true. Do you remember when Trump said that Obama was listening into his phone calls? I think Trump, he's an older guy, so I think he said, "Hey, tap my phone." Now, of course, in these days they don't tap phones, but that was his language of saying that you were listening in. And it was like, "Oh man, no one believes you, me." And then he was. I mean, no one cared, no one did anything about it. Obama's still running around, did something way worse than Watergate, but who cares?
Right.
And so all these conspiracy theories have, in the past, there's been several that paid off,
Mm-hmm.
which, like a lottery or, a machine at a casino, if you get a payout, you're going to go back thinking it's going to pay out again. And I feel that we are upon that again, where people are seeing another conspiracy. This is, something's going on. That's
right.
They jump onto anything they can. And I think they think this is going to pay off. And, from what I've heard of you, from what you've said and the things you've given us, the alien part, that's not going to pay off.
No.
But what about beings from another dimension, as people say?
You bet.
What is that about?
So it's definitely, as a Christian, we should believe the Bible. That's our first source of authority. And that says, again, 6,000-year-old Earth. So we don't have time for alien beings or civilizations on some distant planet to evolve before us and then come out to us. And there's a whole theological argument we won't get into. But let's talk about the interdimensional beings. So we definitely know, again, starting with the Bible, that we are not all there is. There's a whole nother spirit realm, and that includes angels and demons. God does not want us to live thinking about them all the time, but we certainly are aware that they're out there. I mean, that's why we were, tempted by sin in the first place, right? Was from Satan. So yes, there is definitely that spiritual realm, and I would think Christians should be the first people to recognize that this is probably what's happening. And abductions. So, abductions are also, it's a real thing. If someone said that they had an abduction experience, the first thing we do is listen, because it really happened to them. Now, what they think happened to them, as far as what physically happened, may not be what really happened to them, but they still experienced something. And so we would never want to discount their experience, and they suffer. And the scientists that have done the interviews with these people, they have real post-traumatic stress disorder as if it was a real event. So something happened to them. It was not just completely made up in their head per se. Now the question is, did what happened to them, what they think, was that the real thing?
Yeah.
Because they've said that the aliens could walk through walls, and and transport them up to the spaceship. And it's kind of funny because almost always the message from the aliens to the person is, one, you were specially chosen, and two, there's a religious aspect. They want to either tell them that we know who Jesus is, but a lot of it is saying Jesus is not real. We are the ones that created you and made you special, and we've been watching you and monitoring, the civilization progress. And so it has a very real spiritual aspect to it. And this is the part that's really kind of spooky. They realize, so all these researchers realize that not everyone is getting the same treatment. And guess who's not getting abducted?
Who?
Christians.
Well, that's interesting.
And when I say Christians, it's not the Christians that just show up to church on Christmas and Easter. It's the Bible-believing
Christian.
Yeah, it's the Bible-believing Christians. They are not being targeted and not being abducted. And further, when someone, and we have documented evidence, and quite a few people have said this, that in the midst of their abduction, they called out on Jesus to save them, and the abduction stopped immediately.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's kind of weird, right? Aliens come from millions of light years away to tell us all about Jesus and why we shouldn't believe in him. And then when we call out on the name of Jesus, the abduction stops. So it really shows you that what's happening is not an alien encounter, but it's really an encounter with that, again, with another dimension, most likely a demon. And these are not happy encounters.
Right.
They are scared. People are terrified. Again, it's very stressful, even to the point where people will have it multiple times, and they'll end up with a Stockholm syndrome about it. So yeah, it is a real thing, but we don't think it's from not this dimension, but it's definitely not out of this world, if you will.
Yeah, boy, that's interesting. Because I'll tell you, we are perfectly content with demons being around in the New Testament. We're okay with that. That's long enough back where we can say, well, that was a different time. Now we're much more rational. We're more in contact with reality, and even though that kind of stuff happened then, surely we're too rational today for that to happen now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not gonna, well, I'm probably gonna offend people with this, but we have people that say, I hear voices in my head, and we immediately dismiss it to some kind of syndrome that some secular person has decided to call it. We drug them up. The voices do stop because you've introduced a drug into their lives, and we think we have solved the problem. And if you say that this has anything to do with demons or spirituality, you're immediately discredited. And I'm talking not about the secular world, of course they are. I'm talking about the Christian world. The Christian world will be this way. I know of very conservative Christian universities with faculty that would immediately get enraged at you if you dare say that there was a mental issue someone was having and tried to say this might be related to a demon. Just angry, physically angry. And these are people that, of course, go to church and they're at a Christian university, very conservative, but they despise anyone challenging the secular view of what is going on, their narrative of what's going on. So when you talk about this sort of thing, and you say, well, demons are real, and this could be demons interacting with people the way they did in the Old Testament, New Testament, and all throughout time, because I think we think since the Industrial Revolution, demons were like, okay, we're done. Yeah. The Industrial Revolution's here. People are going to start going to university. We need to stop doing stuff. We're just going to take a vacation. Yeah. But you're saying, no, they are still active, and this could be part of this activity. How do people respond to you? Even Christians, how do they respond to you when you talk this way?
Well, so a little more background. The demons have they manifest to what is normal in the culture. So we have stories of Indians seeing flying canoes.
Hmm.
And they're not going to see spaceships, right? Because they can't, that doesn't relate to them at all. So they
Okay.
saw flying canoes. And then in the 50s, we saw mainly like flying saucers. And then in the 70s, for whatever reason, triangles were in. And now,
because of
yeah,
yeah,
and then
because
now
of the bands that were around.
and now you have the grays, you know, the kind of the long, tall people with the big
Yeah.
eyes. But that's because we've seen those the grays never started until we saw a science fiction movie with them, and then
Yeah.
people started
But now
seeing
we
them.
see it.
So the demons have, and again, I'm saying demons because I think that's what they are. But these abductions and the visits are manifesting in a way that people can relate to them. So they're already pre-positioned to
Yeah.
think that, one, they're out there, and two, what they look like. And sure enough, that's what they look like when they have these encounters. And so it gives them that much more, I would say, credibility.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of, you don't really want to go tell your best friend, hey, I just got abducted by a demon. And
Yeah.
if you tell your pastor and then he laughs at you because he doesn't either understand it or doesn't want to validate that, yes, you had that problem, now where do you go?
Yeah.
So you end up going to other UFO people who are
Yeah.
going to definitely say, oh, yeah, you got visited by, an alien, and then it just really perpetuates.
Yeah.
So your question was, how should Christians relate to this, or how should a pastor? I'm sorry, I kind of derailed the...
Yeah, how have people responded to you? Have people just said you're crazy and you don't know what you're talking about? Or do people say, oh, this makes sense finally? How do they respond?
Yeah, so I would say initially a lot of disbelief. But honestly, if I tell someone that the earth is 6,000 years old, even amongst Christian circles, I get a lot of, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, am I? Let's see what the Bible says.
Yeah.
And so you can walk that through. I'm like, okay, now that I have shown you that the Bible says that 6,000 years old, is there any scientific evidence that supports that? And it turns out there's tons of it. And that's what our entire ministry is about. So I'm not going to go into all the details there. But so once you get a person to go, oh, I think plausible that the earth is only 6,000 years old, that removes all that time travel. That removes the evidence of aliens. Then it's much more easy to go, well, yeah, the Bible does talk about angels and demons, so what else could it be?
Yeah.
Because we've kind of removed the alien aspect as something that's just not plausible.
Yeah. We're out of time, but what's interesting to me is what kind of gymnastics you end up doing when you need evolution to be right. When you try to still make Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, and especially Genesis chapters 1, 2, and 3, when you try to make those be as real and as significant to reality, if I can put it that way, our world, as it's supposed to be in Scripture, but you believe in evolution, you have to do all kinds of crazy things.
You almost have to rip out the entire first book.
Yeah, you do, because when William Lane Craig tried it, you end up with some kind of hominid that ended up having enough evolved brain that God would put a soul in it, whatever that means, and then that's going to be Adam.
Yeah.
All the rest that even had a few molecules not quite there in the brain, but this one did, he gets a soul, that's the first Adam. You have tons and
What about the other guys that are around him?
Yeah. Then what are they? What are they? I mean, they just slapping their face going, bird, but this guy goes, no, I know what an apple is. Whatever it is, it becomes insane.
It does. And it goes so against what the entire story of Jesus. There was no death before sin, because sin is a consequence of Adam and Eve's original sin, eating the apple, forbidden fruit. Well, Jesus came as the last Adam to undo the curse of the first Adam.
Yeah.
But if you've had millions of years of death and mutations and dinosaurs eating each other and all that, then that means death wasn't the result of Adam's sin.
Yeah.
So then why did Jesus come?
That's right.
So the entire gospel gets ripped out fairly quickly if you don't acknowledge that the literal history of Genesis 1 through 11.
Yeah, when you look at Romans 5:12 moving forward, you see this this statement, death by sin.
Yes.
And when you see that, you think, well, okay, well, now I got to re-explain that, because for evolution to be true, you have millions and millions of years of dying and trying, and until you get the hominid that God said, okay, I'll put a soul in that one. Anyway, as we come to this new thing, how do you explain all these people coming forward saying that they've had some kind of experience? Well, you can just blow them off and say every single one of those people are lying. Is that possible? I mean, the world we live in, maybe. But probably what you're dealing with is a real experience. Well, then how do you describe that? Well, you describe it in the way that Scripture has always talked about people that have had experiences with demons.
Yeah.
And we are, and as someone that's been to several seminaries, I could tell you, we are embarrassed about that world. We are embarrassed about talking about Satan. We're embarrassed about talking about the demons. We're embarrassed talking about angels, because we have some denominations that kind of got obsessed with it, and everything became about that. And I get that that's not the way to go, but the answer to that is not so we never talk about it.
Correct.
And we never see any evidence of it in the world. Otherwise, we'll be crazy too. And, we don't want to be crazy. And so, I hope this is helpful to you as you guys are listening to this, that this might be a way of thinking about how your Bible interacts with the world today, no matter what new headline comes on, no matter what new idea pops into your TikTok, that God's Word is the ultimate authority by which we look to it to say what is going on. The minute we stop doing that, we're in trouble. So stay tuned, people. There's more Renton Rathbun Show coming, hopefully being helpful to you and your family.
Does it have a website?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Jersey Mike, once again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you tell us, before we go, Beau, where can we find out more about Creation Ministries? What's going on with Creation Ministries? Give us a website. Give us some insight.
Super easy, creation.com.
Wow, you guys got
make
that
it
one?
easier. Yeah, we got it early. So
Nice job. Creation.com.
simple, creation.com.
Okay, and what can we find there? What are some things?
So we have 45 years of research and over 15,000 articles. Really nice search bar at the top. So just type in your question. Most likely your answer is already there.
Nice. All right, great. Well, check that out, people, because there's a lot of resources there. I know that they are creating an educational kind of force that's going to be coming out of there where you can take classes and things like that. So go to creation.com and then go to rentonrathbun.com. All right, I will see you later, everybody, on the Renton Rathbun Show.